President George Bush has declared Texas a federal disaster area after Hurricane Ike battered the region. Bush has ordered aid to supplement state and local recovery efforts. Ike made landfall in Texas earlier today as a strong Category 2. The storm left behind a path of destruction, and now residents are left to pick up the pieces. At least one person has been confirmed dead. This was the scene in Texas as Ike rolled through. Strong winds damaged thousands of homes and businesses as torrential rain flooded the streets. The storm shattered windows on skyscrapers in Galveston and knocked out power to millions of people in Houston. Ike has since been downgraded to a tropical storm. Well, the CBC's Allison Smith was in Texas just as the storm made its way through, and I spoke to her earlier about the damage Ike left behind.
There are still some bands of rain and the wind is still blowing, but certainly over the last couple of hours, Neil, this storm has subsided and moved on past us. What you can see behind me, though, is part of what it has left behind, that storm surge. This body of water is called Clear Lake, but it is linked directly to Galveston Bay, and so you saw that water push up through here. In fact, it flooded the basement and the lobby of the hotel that we were staying in. We've taken a drive along that road that you can see behind us there. Homes flooded, businesses underwater, and that's going to be the situation across much of the Gulf Coast. The storm this morning was still fairly strong, and it took a while for authorities to be able to get out and take a look at things, and they're just in the process of doing that now. Obviously, there's a real concern on the parts of all levels of government, both federal, state, and municipal, to make sure that the people who did not heed those evacuation orders are in fact found. One state authority here said that it may in fact launch the biggest search and rescue operation along the Texas coast that they've ever seen in this state of Texas. Those people, though, who did leave their homes are now waiting and wondering. Many of them can't get access yet because you can see that the water has just surrounded neighborhoods and communities. In downtown Houston, for example, windows were blown out of the Chase skyscraper in downtown. As many as 4 million people may be without power, and the estimates even before this storm hit were that it would take 2 or 3 weeks to restore power to all of those people.
It's unbelievable, Allison, just to see the sheer volume of water that is pouring through the streets right across Texas. Is there a sense from people, if you've been able to talk to some, about why they chose to stay, and so many of them, certainly after Katrina, but in recent days, other storms as well, and all the warnings that people decided to stay even after all that?
I think that it's very difficult at any time for somebody to leave their home, particularly in the face of some perceived danger. And this certainly, as a hurricane-hardy region of the United States, they've seen many of them before, and they've weathered many of them before. Katrina was one of those dreadful situations, and of course it was what happened after Katrina that was perhaps more devastating than the storm itself. In the hotel that we're staying in, for example, the hotel has survived hurricanes before, and this time the roof of the atrium blew out. As I said, the lobby is flooded. So you never know what's going to happen. You never know whether the storm is going to hit you directly. And it's certainly understandable on some level, I suppose, that people are reluctant to leave their homes. There were many who left it too late and had to be rescued. And that's the difficulty for the search and rescue officials, is that, you know, even at a certain point, if somebody wanted to leave, they may have left it too late.
That was the CBC's Allison Smith in Clear Lake, Texas. And the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff addressed the situation in a press conference just last hour. He urged people to be extra cautious even after the worst has passed.
This is still a dangerous storm. Our principal focus at this moment is search and rescue. More than 50 aircraft are currently engaged in that effort. Coast Guard has a couple of Falcons that are currently flying, and Coast Guard, Department of Defense, National Guard helicopters, over 50, are airborne now conducting search and rescue operations. Again, we're particularly focused on those areas hit with storm surge. Even in those other locations where the flooding is not quite so significant, people must remember that the most dangerous period in a storm is often what occurs after the storm has moved on. There's a loss of power, there's fallen trees, there may be hidden traps that are covered with water, there'll be debris down power lines and other kinds of hazards. People should exercise extreme caution as they get out and about so we don't have injuries and loss of life going forward from this point on.
And we've been feeling the effects of Hurricane Ike right here at home, too, of course, in a very different way. It has been whipping up gas prices and slamming Canadian drivers right in the wallet. Let's show you a snapshot of just some of the latest highs across the country. Out west in Vancouver, gas has been selling at just about $1.37 a liter today. In Calgary, a similar number, $1.37 is the average price there. People in Toronto get a ever so slight break compared to that at $1.36 a liter. But in Montreal, that's where drivers are being hit the hardest. They're paying around $1.43 a liter today. The lowest prices, though, are on the East Coast. In Halifax, it'll cost you about $1.31 a liter to fill your tank. We want to go to Southern California now, where a rescue operation is still underway after